everybody. Now I have Ken Wilson with me here in this sunny but cold Izmir day, and I'm gonna ask a couple questions.
Okay.
Right, thank you again for accepting it. So can you remember the first time you came to Turkey?
Yes, I can remember the first time I came to Turkey. It was about 10 years ago. It was about 10 years ago when I came to talk about a new project. Because if you remember, the lycée system you have is the special year, and they were going to have a system where they had 26 hours of English during lycée. Did that ever happen?
I guess so.
I don't think it happened. No? Because we were going to write 3 books for the students to use during that, and I remember very clearly the first meeting in Istanbul about that.
We're talking about past, right?
A long time ago, about 10 years ago, and then since then I've been to about 10 conferences here in Istanbul, Izmir, Antalya, and I feel terrible that I haven't learned more Turkish, and I promise when I finish learning German I'll start learning Turkish next.
Good. So since then, what changes have you seen in Turkey in terms of teaching English?
Well, it's quite interesting because I think the first conference I came to must be about 7 years ago now, and I think really the things we can talk about at the conferences have become more sophisticated, if you like, because, and I'm not just saying this because we're here, but the fact is that Turkish teachers really are very nice to talk to. They're very easy to talk to.
Yeah, that was my next
welcoming.
question.
No, but they very are. They're very easy to talk to. They are accepting of most things that we say. You know, this doesn't happen in every country. This doesn't happen everywhere. But what I think now is that I think, you know, for example, asking a question about mobile phones. I mean, if I'd asked that question 2 years ago, people would say, no, and we can't use them in the classroom. Now there's an openness to the technology, that kind of possibility, you know, using technology in the classroom. Right. I'm not a big fan of using too much technology, but I think it's clear that people are, certainly the people who come to conferences, and I think one has to say that you have to make a distinction between people who turn up at conferences and the majority of teachers. You might find that you do get a certain kind of teacher who comes to a conference.
Right.
So we're getting to meet very special people at these conferences, but they are very good and they're very warm and welcoming. It's wonderful to come and do talks here, really.
Good to hear. So if we can get a little bit personal, not too personal though, how did you start writing ELT materials?
Well, my personal example is a bit strange because when I was teaching in London, I was 22 years old, and I was using songs in my classroom, just regular pop songs. We'd learn them, and I did have the students for 10 hours a week, so I felt I could justify spending an hour teaching a song. And then I got given a beginner's class, and I couldn't use these pop songs anymore, so I started writing my own songs. And then my boss at the time, a guy called John Haycraft, said, let's get them published. And so when I was 23 years old, I published an album of teaching songs. So it was an accidental arrival. But once you get involved with publishers and they know who you are, they ask you to do other things too. So little by little, and they kept saying, do you want to write a course book? And I said, no, I don't think I know how to do that. And eventually I joined a team where other people knew the things I didn't know, like how to do a grammar syllabus. So, you know, if you stay in the business and you do a good job and you send your manuscript on time, people keep giving you work in publishing. Yeah.
So that next question is, where do you keep on getting the inspiration from for writing?
I think the thing I always think is that if you're writing English language teaching materials, you're not an artist, you're an artisan, like a carpenter, right? And so if somebody comes and says, we need a new table, and as a carpenter you think, I think a table with 3 legs would be interesting. They say, that's not what we want. The fact of the matter is that most publishers come to you with what they want, an idea of what they want. You know, yeah, that's right. Well, but no, that was a bit negative there. But generally speaking, publishers have a plan. You know, we want a book just for China. We want a book just for Brazil. We want a book for the Middle East or something. So you have to start thinking in those terms. And then, for example, in my China book, I wrote a book for China, the academic committee provided us with everything, the topic, the vocabulary we should use, which I found quite useful. You know, so all I have to do is connect the grammar and the vocabulary and things like that. You know, I quite like doing that. You know, I mean, it's people say, here's what we want, and here are 1 or 2 ideas. I mean, I don't have any ideas of my own.
All right. Well, the last question, and I will let you go and have some wine. How do you get ready for a talk?
Oof.
Or how do you feel before a talk?
Very nervous. Did that
Really?
You see how the thing is, as I did a blog about a year ago saying it's conference time and I'm getting nervous.
All right.
And people wrote, "You get nervous after all these years?" I get more nervous the more well known or known I become. Because the more people know you, the more they think, "God, that was a terrible talk. My God, he did a really bad talk." So the possibility is you might do a bad talk when people know who you are. That's
Right.
terrible, you know?
Right.
And as somebody wrote in one of the comments, it's good to get nervous, but if you're still nervous after half an hour of the talk, you shouldn't be doing talks, you know? So that's true. I mean, if you're nervous for 5 minutes or something, that's okay, you know. But I think the thing that people find a bit strange is I say you must give your talk to the wall at home at least 12 times before you actually give it. Even if you think you know it backwards, you must make sure you know what's coming next. There's nothing worse in a talk. People going, "Oh right," when they see a PowerPoint slide they weren't expecting. You must know what's coming next so that it feels fluent. So that's why I say is practice your talks. If you're going to do talks at conferences, make sure you practice and practice and practice.
Can you give me a number just from before a regular talk? How many times?
I would try and do it 12 times
12 times.
before a new talk. And even this is not a new talk, but
Right.
I was doing it in Turkey for the first time. So as I did it, I thought about I did a little joke about kushadasi, you remember?
Yeah, I
So it
do.
suddenly occurred to me as I did it the third time, I'll put kushadasi in there, you know? That
Okay.
was not an ad lib, that was part of my script, you know?
You loved it.
Yeah.
So those were my questions. Anything you want to add?
Just, I mean, we kind of, you know, it's great being here in where am I? You know, I mean, the fact is, people think that we always say that, but it is absolutely wonderful being in Turkey generally. Izmir is a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. It's got all the great things about Istanbul, great food and great everything, but not the bad traffic that Istanbul has, you know. So it's just a lovely, lovely place to be. And I'm really, really glad that I've been here 3 or 4 times out. And I promise I will try and learn some Turkish before I come next time. Teşekkür.